See.
Good morning. Y'all can hear me? Yeah? Thumbs up if I can hear everybody. Awesome. Good morning, everybody. Our session is a journey to passwordless and securing the front line with Jamf and Entra. Wanted to do some intros first. You just heard all of our first names, but what do we actually do? I'm Chris Diaz. I'm the industry development lead here at Jamf. I support all of you. I see all of you, a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. So good to see you all. Welcome. New faces, welcome as well. My job at Jamf is to help support all of you retailers and anybody trying to leverage our shared device workflows in the actual retail space. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Alisha real quick. Alisha, you want to do a quick intro, and Justin as well?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alisha Seguin. I'm Senior Infrastructure Architect at Crocs. I have a vast tech background and excited to be working with Jamf on this really exciting project for us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Justin Lee. I'm the IT Systems Engineer at Crocs. I've been there for 5 years, 3 years in the Jamf admin role. This is my second JNUC here, so I'm really excited to actually present on my second time here.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to kind of jump in. And I don't know if you all could see me. I am rocking my favorite shoe wear, Crocs. If you haven't had a pair, best shoes in the world. Yeah, give some claps for that. Thank you. Appreciate that. So hopefully you all are ready to croc in for today's session. Yeah, see what I did there? But I wanted to start off with just kind of the journey around shared devices. How many, by show of hands, use shared devices in their existing platform right now? I see a lot. Okay. That's awesome. It's the most common deployment type that we are seeing in industry right now. For the longest time, we've seen a lot of one-to-one deployments that you typically see in the corporate world. We've seen from a leadership perspective, they may have their own dedicated devices, but shared device is consistently growing year over year over year. And frontline workers need to be able to have the ability to change configurations on the fly without having to involve all of you lovely people in the world of IT. If we can allow our front lines to do the work they can only do and change on the fly without having to open a ticket, does that sound like a pretty good idea? Yeah, I see a lot of heads nodding. That's great. So in a recent survey, our friends at Scandit did a frontline survey with over 2,000 retail frontline employees. And there's top 3 value features that they needed with mobile technology. And one of them is the ability to multitask and make it easy. Second one, having the access to the right information at the right time. And lastly, intuitiveness. Do I have to do like 30 different steps to actually accomplish what I need? Is it easy? Is it simple? And does it just work? So moving into this, so before I hand off to the Crocs team, I wanted to kind of, what is it? Today's Wednesday, so do a little way back Wednesday. Take us back in time a little bit around the origins of these 2 apps. How many of you used Setup and Reset at some point in time or are familiar with it? Okay. So I think a lot of you, how many have been using Setup and Reset over a couple of years? All right, a few, okay. So let's start. We actually introduced this in 2018 with a single EA. I can select if I'm a store, in the sense of retail, I can select if I'm a store associate, I can select if I'm a store manager, and then that's it. No identity, just one single EA. There's a little problem with that though, right? Anybody can be a manager. Anybody could be a store associate. And so as we kind of went forward thinking with this, we added OpenAuth, and then in 3.0, Setup 3.0 in 2021, we introduced something called single login, introduced with public preview with Microsoft Entra ID and the Microsoft Authenticator app. Really cool thing because it tied identity directly to the user. So I know if Chris Diaz at jamf.com logs into this device, it will know what role, write those values directly into Jamf, and be able to provision and showcase what's available for me based off my user needs. As we kind of fast forward through the years here, and this is where we got Alisha really excited back when we first put it in public preview. And how many of you have tested in public preview already? Some? Okay, had a few people during that time that probably did. A lot of people said, hey, Chris, when's this going to be ready? We want it out of public preview, we want it in GA. And so in 2024, we said, hey, we're going to remove some legacy keys, add in some support for Microsoft's sign out from browser feature, which was awesome. And then in 2025, in January of this year, we went GA. So single login was fully ready, and we had device compliance with Entra for shared devices. So it actually will tie into that identity and Entra tenant that you're looking for. And so when I called Alisha, in January, right after NRF. I was like, Alisha, it's here. It's finally here. And you want to know what Alisha told me? Hey, is there QR code and PIN support? And so years and years of just saying, oh, I wish we had this. We said, hey, let's get back to the drawing board. And so in February 2025, we worked with Microsoft to be able to get QR code and PIN authentication method for login for Entra ID. And so I'm not going to take away too much of the Crocs team's thunder here, but it's been such an amazing experience for their teams to be able to make their lives easy for the frontline. And I think that's what we all want to do, right? Show of hands who wants to make their end users' lives a little easier. I think hopefully everyone raises their hand. Not a loaded question, but I'm excited to be here. I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and hand over to Alisha with the Crocs team. Alisha?
Hello.
Cool.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
All right. Hi, everyone. So we'll start it off with a quote here. Modern companies, regardless of their industry, have to function like a tech company these days. I think all of us understand that. We see the vulnerabilities, we get the pings from security. We know that there's a lot going on behind the scenes. So at Crocs, innovation goes beyond our cool, fancy shoes and colors and fun. It's actually embedded in how we function overall. So really our goal was to stay ahead of the curve and be the latest and greatest embracing this technology. So I'll give you kind of an overview. This is more of a story time session. This is not a deep dive into the technical ins and outs. Chris will have some recommendations on which sessions to attend if you want that. So first was the challenge. And I think we can all agree passwords are a big challenge. Our vision was passwordless. That word has a couple different definitions for us, which I'll explain in another slide. And then the key technologies that we've adopted we'll be reviewing. And of course, the security and compliance wins that are motivating all of this. And then how we'll measure success, our user adoption, and their feedback. So the challenge. Everyone agrees. End users, IT, we don't like passwords. We don't like hearing people complain about passwords. We don't like having to support them or having to frequently reset them. It's usually common offenders, the same people having the same problem over and over. So for us, it was really about addressing that user friction. How do we evolve past the password? How do we address the security risks that are right now targeting retail specifically? And how do we improve our end user experience? How do we alleviate some of the MFA complaints that they have right now? The big thing for us, for the shared environment specifically, was that there was, at the time, no automatic logout for SSO apps. So I'm sure all of you would agree if you're using shared iPad right now, the complaint is what happens if the manager puts it down and the wrong person picks it up. So those are some of the things that we are going to try and address with Passwordless. Try again. There we go. So our vision, passwordless authentication, was to simplify access, reduce IT overhead, give service desk a break, basically, and improve security, all while trying to solution this at the same time. So the main things we're solving is the user convenience. We are also striving for zero trust, something a user has physically, and then we're trying to be more phishing resistant because all the vulnerabilities I mentioned before. So some of the key technologies that we've utilized to do this. Obviously, our foundation, our identity provider is Entra ID. We are also utilizing Platform SSO on our Macs, which was kind of the first iteration of Passwordless for Crocs. We rolled it out to our corporate employees first. Transparency, it was easier to address corporate than it was to address the front line.
100%.
So for Jamf Pro, obviously, that's going to be our backbone for all of our MDM, for all of our Apple devices. And then we utilize Jamf Setup and Reset for our iPads in the shared device environment. And then the big exciting one, QR code and PIN authentication, which was new from Entra ID. Much like we were eager to get the setup and reset experience on iPads, we were also in Microsoft's ear asking for this technology. So we were very excited when they brought it into preview. So first up, Entra ID. Some of the prerequisites to be able to call ourselves passwordless was to create conditional access policies that would enforce various authentication strengths. So the authentication strengths enforce a few different methods. They vary depending on the devices that the users were using. So for PCs, it was Windows Hello. For BYOD, it was Passkeys, phone sign-in through Authenticator. And then, of course, for the Macs, it was Touch ID and Platform SSO. We also had to create a new AD policy. So when I mentioned earlier that passwordless has kind of a different definition for us, there is a password in the background for our users, but when we cut them over to passwordless, they never know that password. So it's insurance for us that that password never gets entered or hashed on their local device, but to the end user, they're using authentication methods to log in every day. So it's passwordless to them. On the AD side, there's still a password, but they never know it. The way we empowered that was through a custom attribute that gets stamped on the user's Entra record, and that's how we cut them over from the existing password policy that they know to a new password that's more complex and that they will never know. And then, of course, we have MyStaff. Are any of you utilizing MyStaff? Can I get a hand raise if so? Okay, this is exciting. If you guys have never heard of this before, I encourage you to look it up. I'll have a resource at the end. But MyStaff is what you can utilize to bring the password reset function to the users themselves. So we use MyStaff with a combination of different administrative units for our managers to empower them to be able to reset the authentication methods in store. So the benefit for us, they don't have to call service desk, they're not asking for password resets, and with these new authentication methods, same process. They don't have to reach out to us, they can reach out to their manager who's on site with them. Yep. Handing off to Justin.
Yep, to catch up with everyone on Windows, everyone's using Hello for Business. The Macs were lacking the passwordless ability, but when Platform SSL came out, it gave us the ability to use Secure Enclave to store a passkey onto the native Mac hardware, which gave us the option to use Touch ID to authenticate through SSO apps. So that gave us one step closer to being passwordless, but we all know that with the,
There is a password, so they're using PIN.
Yep. And then, so we switched over to PIN as the password for FileVault because we all know that we can't bypass FileVault with the Touch ID yet. So we still have a local password on local accounts that's tied to the IDP, but we gave the users the ability to use a 6-digit PIN, which is a lot easier to use for them to log in, and they will never forget that password because resetting your password so frequently is a big security risk. And then for onboarding new users, we're using Jamf Setup. We're pre-installing Company Portal, which is because we're a Microsoft shop. We're using Installator to install it before the user account gets created. So once all the applications are installed, they're able to log into their MacBook and already have the registration prompt on the top right corner. For anyone that didn't have the registration prompt or if they just kept ignoring it, we have Swift dialog that prompts anyone to keep registering if they're in a security group that, or not security group, smart group. That has the extension out to if they're registered for Platform SSO or not. And the big thing with Platform SSO is that we're logged in with into all of our SSO applications, and you can authenticate with Touch ID.
So now talking about Jamf Pro and what we were doing in Jamf Pro. So you guys are probably familiar with the Jamf Pro screens for compliance, so I didn't include that screenshot here, but I did include a screenshot of the Intune side of it. So you can see under iOS that we have set, actually under macOS, yeah. There is a partner compliance configuration that basically sends the compliance status determined in Jamf over to Intune. And that, for us, really unlocked the capabilities. There is also a shared device compliance capability now, which has actually been really wonderful because previously, users had to go to self-service and initiate that compliance registration. But now with the shared device configuration, they don't have to do that step anymore. So we manage the compliance capability through smart groups. We determine what makes a device compliance in there and which devices we're enforcing that on. So we can separate between our corporate devices and our retail devices that have this specialty shared device compliance assigned. So all of this is managed through configs, config profiles for the SSO and the restrictions. So Jamf Setup and Reset are user account driven versus the device compliance. So this is important because we were having issues before where a device was just kind of set up as a standard iPad, and there was nothing really enforcing a user for signing in as themselves. So we had a hard time measuring productivity, who's doing what, who's signing in the most, who's responsible for most of these tasks in the retail industry. So with Jamf Setup and Reset, now we have the ability to automate some of that and require the users to log in to unlock the SSO functionality. So for us, it was better than the Apple shared iPad and the Intune shared iPad options. The reason that it was better for us is because we have some legacy technology.
Yeah, like 16 gig storage iPads.
They're still out there lingering. Crocs is a global company, and not all of our markets are on the latest and greatest. That really wasn't an option when we pitched it to our boss. So for us, it was the ability to, without a partition, divide that hard drive space, which the Apple shared iPad and the Intune shared iPad require. So for some people, that's an advantage because they want the storage to remain on there. For us, it's such a fast-paced environment, and there is high turnover in retail, so we didn't want to have to worry about freeing up those storage all the time. The other big thing for us is the role-based access in Azure. So through the app registration for Jamf Setup, we can set up different roles and assign those groups different roles. So we could have the ability to assign a manager or a store associate, or maybe someone who's in between those levels, like a senior store associate, to have access to the right applications dependent on their licensing. So not everyone in our retail environment has the same licensing. We do utilize the Frontline license for some of our associates versus the standard E5 corporate licensing that we all get in corporate. That's only reserved for managers and above. So if you haven't checked out the app role capability, highly recommend it because it allows you to customize that user experience. When they sign into Jamf Setup, they will only see the apps that they are licensed for based on the configs that we've created. A big thing for us was training the end users, as I'm sure you all can relate. What really changed the game was training our support teams. Because if you can train your support teams, then everyone's not pinging you individually, which I've learned the hard way. So for us, it was all about creating videos, immersive GIFs, because if you can show them in 15 seconds, that's about the average attention span these days. So creating visuals for people instead of just instructions was a big game changer for us. And then something I don't have listed here, but it was kind of a critical moment for us, was creating a co-pilot support chat for our service desk teams. As we mentioned, we rolled out several authentication methods at once. So the shared iPad experience is not the only thing that our support teams are having to learn about. So while we were rolling out Windows Hello, Platform SSO, Passkeys, phone sign-in, all these various auth methods, it became really clear that an end user calling the service desk could report varying experiences, and it was kind of hard for our service desk to know what's the problem here. So for us, that co-pilot chat in Teams really helped our team get the confidence because maybe they didn't want to ask me. They didn't want to admit to not knowing if this was an issue with one of those methods. So it gave them kind of a tier 0 to contact first and help narrow down what was going on if this was related to passwordless.
And Alisha was making a good point to me earlier was that this new generation is iPad kids. So like using an iPad is something very familiar to use, and everyone knows how to use one.
Right.
So like supporting someone over the phone, like a Gen Z or someone that's like under 20, like it's easy to explain things to them.
Right. It's hard to it's hard to train them up on PCs if they've been using iPads their whole life. So as they continue to join the workforce, we really see this mobile experience becoming more important. Try one more time. All right, so now you guys can get a little preview here. We'll play a little clip of what's going on. Before I play it, I want to explain what you're going to see. So what you're going to see in this video clip is Jamf Setup being launched, the end user getting prompted to sign in with a QR code and PIN, which, by the way, is all configured on the Entra side, or can be configured through the MyStaff, like I mentioned. So the manager can actually set up the QR code and PIN in the store for a new user. So once again, alleviates the process of calling service desk, which for us means less risk. People aren't used to resetting passwords over the phone anymore. We simply don't allow it. So this is a big deal for us. It's specifically designed for the frontline, so obviously multi-user, and it will enforce the authentication strength, in this case, the QR code. So here we go. It's going to move fast, which is kind of the selling point. So you scan the QR code, input the PIN. The first login, you'll use a temporary PIN that's generated when you create it. In this case, I've already reset it, so it's just going to use the PIN that I've reset it to. And then for us, once it's selected your role, automatically, they do not have to select it. We direct them straight into Edge. And as I mentioned earlier, most of our users are using Frontline license, which means they're only licensed for web. So really, if we could solution everything in the web app, we're good to go. So that was really our goal, was to default to their My Apps. They could get straight into the web applications that they needed access to. And then it also shows you resetting.
Also to note, on Jamf, we can control the edge policies. So we can do like timeout or do incognito sessions so that we have more protections in place so that we don't have someone pick up an iPad and be like, oh, they're still signed in like somehow. But
exactly. There is a automatic timeout on the web browser version. We couldn't ensure that for every standalone application, but we were able to get Edge to work. So that was a big win for us, was to assure that if a manager signed in and they were accessing HR data and set down that iPad, the next associate wouldn't automatically gain access to whatever they were viewing before.
A couple things too, when you just saw that demo. You guys want to see the demo one more time?
Yeah, let's go back.
Yeah, let's do it one more time real quick.
See if it lets me.
Let's see you go back a slide real quick, and I think we can try it one more time, and then hopefully there we go. So as they're logging in, like there's some really cool things after the fact. So you can assign custom wallpapers, you can enforce passcodes, you can enforce all kinds of cool things based on that user that you typically would see. This is a really great example of speed, right? By show of hands, who agrees speed is very important for your frontline teams? Well, that's everybody. And so that's the goal. Typically, the way that this was previously configured prior to supporting QR code and PIN ID, if you have a very long name, like Christopher.Diaz, that's going to take a lot of time. Or if you have to do a 16-digit passcode, and then you have this other thing you have to do. This follows kind of that basic zero trust thing, something you have and something you know. So it's a very, very cool thing that they're doing here. So just wanted to chime in a little bit on that. Continue, Alisha.
Yeah, and for the QR codes, just like we all have QR on our name badges here at JNUC, that's how our associates are using it as well. So they have a QR code on the back of their name tag. That's how they're scanning in from these devices. So a few things, security and compliance wins that were the result of this. Obviously, we eliminate the password reset workflow, like I mentioned. We've trained our service desk that if you get a call about a password reset, we just simply don't do it.
Just hang up the phone.
Yeah. Sorry, can't help, talk to your manager. That's what we'd like to say, but not really.
Yeah.
That's not really how we say it. And then it improves our audit trails and access controls. Obviously, as I mentioned before, you only see applications that you're licensed for based on the configurations that we associate on the Entra side. So this helps us make sure that the wrong people don't have the wrong access. If you log in as yourself and you're not licensed for Outlook, you won't see the application available. But it's also automated because it's all based off of dynamic grouping on the back end. So we all love that, not having to manually update group membership. And it aligns with zero trust principles, as Chris mentioned, something you have, something you know. The PIN is the big differentiator there, so someone can't log in as somebody else because you also need to know their PIN. There is an 8-digit requirement on that, so it's a nice PIN amount. It's not too short and sweet. And then the Entra-Only auth methods, no local password hash. That's the big deal for us. Because in the past, the user input that password and it was to get compromised. That's usually the same right back to AD, right? So this puts kind of a layer in between. It's an Entra-Only authentication method, meaning if you compromise this QR code and PIN, you're only getting Entra access. That does not write back to AD, so you can't do any of the lateral movement into our infrastructure with that information. And then the big thing is the user feedback. I mean, they love it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's fast, it's easy, and the biggest feedback we've received so far is, when are all my other apps going to support it?
And yeah, I'll talk to that. So we have an entire partnership team that works with all of your app partners. So if you have an LMS solution, a point of sale solution, all of those things that you want to support the single login framework, our partnership teams will actually work with those app partners so they can support MSAL, which basically will take that login and logout token for those apps. And so we're working with their LMS partner right now. We'll have something ready for them in the near future, which is awesome.
Yep, so that's really what we're waiting for, is more apps to support it, and then we can roll out the pilot to a larger group. Here's all the resources that we studied up on to get to this point. This will also be available in the slide later, obviously, so you guys can take a look at that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Alisha. Who wants to dive in more? I think everybody does. So if everybody wants to get nerdy with it even further, this is my partner in solutions, Mr. Tim Knox. I think a majority of you have met him. He has a session in this exact ballroom at 4:15 to 5 p.m. to actually get under the hood and actually showcase how this is actually accomplished. So working with managed app config, working with the little tick boxes within Jamf Pro to be able to get device compliance dialed in. I think the other great thing about this too is this is such a great better together story of Jamf, Apple, and Microsoft working together as one. And this is one of those things that we often want to talk about, how we can help innovate and push towards the future for all of you that have all this different tech in your stack. Because we know Jamf is not the only piece of technology in your tech stack. And we know, as much as we would love to say that it is, the reality is it isn't. So again, I'm going to leave this up just for a couple more seconds. Please take a look at this session. Please come back for that. And we want to make sure that we get you the support you need there. So let's open up some Q&A. We'd love to hear from all of you. We have 2 people that have actually deployed this in the field. Anything that you have for us around maybe some other things from a Jamf perspective, we'd love to be able to field some of those Q&As. I will say I may defer you to Mr. Tim Knox a little later, so be gentle. But also, any other thoughts we'd love to hear more of. So let's go ahead and open up some Q&A. Do we have a mic that's passing around? Cool. Well, raise your hand if you got a question. Thought?
I think he had one over there.
Oh, yep, cool. You're good, right over here, right in front.
What happens if I have a conspiracy theorist who will not enable Touch ID on their Mac? What would you recommend? How do you get them?
Valid question. So if you want to truly go passwordless, there are alternatives like YubiKeys. Those have a cost associated, but those are truly passwordless. Otherwise, I don't know what other options there are for passwordless, to be honest. So YubiKey or
It is
Touch
popular.
ID.
We have a number of retailers that they want a YubiKey because it's a dumb device. Like if you lose it, nobody's going to know what to do with it, right? But we do have that option. Jamf Setup does support that method if needed. Yeah, with Entra. Great question.
I also believe the new simplified platform MSAL that's coming out with macOS 26 will eventually have the ability to use your fingerprint for FileVault unlocks.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Next question. Oh, we got one right up front here.
Hello, thanks for sharing. Again, on FileVault, I've understood that you enabled the PIN code for Entra ID for the user not to know the password. Great. But then we still get a local password. How do you manage that password, complexity of that password, and so on? Because it's still this password. And what do you do if the user forgets that local password? Because resetting the Entra ID will not reset this one.
Right. So I believe I understand the question, and it's basically what do you do if the user forgets the local password, because that's still required for FileVault?
And obviously you didn't choose to synchronize it with Microsoft, not to get over complex. But yeah,
Right.
there.
Right. So we opted to encourage the users to set a PIN instead of a complex password in hopes that they could remember it long term. I think most of us have a PIN for our bank account or other applications that utilize a PIN. So that's why we opted for that. But one thing to call out is when you switch over to platform SSO, it automatically breaks that tethering between the local password and Entra ID. So it is strictly just a local password. So you could utilize the local password recovery process to reset that password if needed.
Which is like the recovery key you can use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's reboot recovery key, and that's the way you do for changing password.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Good question. Next question, raise your hand. I think there's a few hands that were up. Good, far back right.
What's the total device count that you're supporting with this solution?
Right now we're in pilot, so the numbers are kind of fluctuating as we expand that in the various regions. I think in total we're going to have well over 1,000 iPads once we're fully rolled out. But right now it's, the numbers aren't there yet, but we're still in pilot.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, one in the back.
So with Mac OS, when you convert to like the PIN login for the local profile, does it accept that in terminal as well? Like if they're running elevated commands, they just type in their PIN?
Yep.
For at least terminal for us, everything's locked down, so you'll need an administrator account to even do some of the commands. But if it doesn't require admin access, you could definitely use the PIN to authenticate.
So the previous complexity requirements that we had for passwords, we've reduced, and that's why it's supported.
Awesome.
So the PIN is still the local password.
Yep.
Next, was there one up front? Question up front right here? Yeah. Over here on the far left, or my left, your right. Stage left, yeah.
So when it comes to these pins, isn't it pose a bigger security risk? Because once you're inside of a computer with an easy passcode or whatever it is, or an easy PIN, then you could see more security actors and stuff with that.
So it's actually a zero trust principle that PINs are less frequently guessed than passwords because people recycle their passwords for other accounts. So that's what gave us the confidence to choose that option. But yeah, we just follow the zero trust principles as recommended. When we saw that that was an option, why wouldn't we choose the PIN over a full complex password?
Yeah, and it's something that Windows users are using too on Hello for Business as well. Yep. A PIN and a Face ID.
And you guys didn't have any syncing issues with, like, right now, like for my environment, we use Jamf Connect to sync the passwords. And you guys didn't have any of those kind of issues then?
Good.
Lucky for us, we were able to move off of Jamf Connect because Platform SSO.
Yeah.
We didn't want to use passwords anymore. So for us, using Platform SSO, detached the syncing of passwords from the IDP.
So once a user registered for Platform SSO, they were put in a different smart group. That smart group was excluded from Jamf Connect. And as mentioned before, it actually breaks that tethering already when you register. So it was just more of a cleanup to remove Jamf Connect once they were cut over to the password.
Yeah, using Secure Enclave kind of detaches the password syncing for us.
Okay, so you still use Active Directory to sync the corporate account with the IDP, but that's all independent from the local.
The only time you'll ever need to use your Entra credentials, which we do have passwordless sign-ins through MFA. So the only time you only need to use your Entra account is when you do the registration for Platform SSO.
Okay, and then never again.
Yeah.
Yep. So for new hires, they never have a password. For anyone existing, they have a password for that initial cutover.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the group up here? All right. I think we're good. Going once, going twice. Oh, we got one right here, right up front. All right. It's all right. I can speak loudly. Well, we're going to get you a mic. Don't worry. I know we can hear you, but we want everybody that's going to be watching at home.
Just a quick question. When you actually do the reset, is it RTS in the device, or is it just triggering kind of the logout on the Entra SSO extension for iOS, or how exactly does that work in the latter?
Yep, so it revokes the secure token. Since they're using a passwordless method to get in, it's really just about that revocation process. So like, let's say, for example, they left their My Apps logged in on Edge. The next person tries to go and select it, it would show invalid and bring up the login screen. So ready for the next person.
Great.
Good question.
Nice job.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep, and then for the app installers, there's a special config that you can do for each app to make sure that they're in shared device mode.
Yep.
So that some of the credentials don't stay after the reset.
Yep.
Awesome. A lot of questions. This is great. Any last minute ones before we wrap up? I'll take emotional outbursts too. That's okay. What is it? Free pair of Crocs?
Maybe next jump.
Maybe, I don't know. We talked to our, you got another one? Or you're like, you're seconding, we want another pair of Crocs.
It's under your seats.
Yeah, everybody look under your seats right now. Well, again, thank you all for coming and taking the time out of your day to come to this session. Thank you, Crocs team. Y'all are amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, it's been a long time coming, a long journey to get to this point, and I know we're just getting started, but we're super excited to keep this going forward. And thank you to our friends at Microsoft. I know there might be a few of them in the room for helping us with getting this to come to life. I know it's been a process for us at Jamf, but we're super excited to be able to embrace all of those amazing core technologies. So with that being said, we'll stick around for some additional Q&A. Anything else before we head out, Alisha?
No, let us know if we can help in any way.
All right, thank you all. Have a good rest of your day.